into the I create a game, the interesting game, and then which is this game, I turn all the physical pin, use another way to record the whole process, put it into the game video and then went to the virtual space. When the exhibition or I sent out this game to the different city, the audience, they play together around this virtual environment, which is created by my print. I think that is also another way to combine the space and time. When they play in the game, he walk around the environment. They feel the space. Again, they also feel the time, how changing as well. That is another example.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So when you do the video work, showing the change of the prints, they are it's on one hand it's documenting the prints, but on the other hand it's creating a new work out of that, right?
Yes. And then one hand, the document is such like the source, like the footage. When I have this footage, it means the starting point is from printmaking, and then allow me to put it into the digital realms. I can manipulate the different software, even though I can coding, like use the task designer, like use the processing something else to recreate the new work. But it's still, you can trace back the sensibility of the print. I mean, you know where they are from.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yes. Mm-hmm. In Irena, in your case, the documentation would still keep the character of a documentation, or would that become eventually an artwork in its own right?
The first thing, documentation, and yeah. I didn't have an idea of creating a specific artwork with that, but my idea was, I was just thinking about this collaborative work with someone who is really good in editing and creating videos, and can do that for me. And yeah, as a time lapse or overlapping, it can contain elements of process of the work of printing and then final outcomes. I don't know, not completely clear with deciding on it at the moment. I'm just brainstorming some ideas.
Yeah,
but right now, Michael, I remember that performance that I saw once with you and Professor Mida, with the music and carving blocks and then the rhythm of, you were using stones and Professor Mida was using, I think, carving tools, and then there was the music. That was really great.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, it just came to my mind right now.
Yeah, in this case, the idea of the performance came out of the necessity to instruct the audience about the nature of the process, to understand the concepts behind it, and then it took on a life on its own. So maybe similar to what you're doing, and so making it time-based, then things become a bit different, and it has a different character. So it becomes communicating in a different language, I think. So just like communicating through paintings is basically a different language than communicating through print, because you have to think in print in order to do that well. And I guess that the move from thinking in print and then thinking in time-based media is also quite difficult to develop and do. And Annie has a question, please.
Yeah, I'm still very much stuck in 2 dimensions. I don't do much 3-dimensional work or moving work, but I'm really, I didn't really know this about myself until I heard the talk, but I'm very interested in sort of degradation of the image when the image becomes messed up. And I tend to do it by like misregistering and doing multiple overlays that kind of interact with each other, not always in pleasant ways. And so that's really of interest to me. So I appreciated contemplating that. Thank you for your talk.
Thanks.
Is actively enforcing the decay an important question in the work?
Can you rephrase the question?
So I mean, we know that blocks and prints are decaying over time on their own. You know, actively supporting that process or making that happen by kind of like Annie said, some misregistration or underlined overprinting, or are you pushing that too, or are you just taking what is happening?
I think I intention to pushing that too. I intention to do this. Like for example, some printed image, when I print out, I use the fire to burn the surface and then to recall, or use the edge just to etch the surface. Or somehow I carry the print, I just streak out the streak, the people can scratch that, and then I collect back to record it. I mean, it's the methodology for me to game the source that way, even though that is the intention to create such a thing. Yeah.
Thank you.
It's interesting how this is just on the subject of the block, for example, decaying over time. It's interesting that, for example, you know, the Great Wave, the original block was, I believe, worn out after so many impressions, but it's been reproduced countless times. And sometimes when people look at a woodblock print, they're not aware, even though in a sense it's an original, they're not aware that it may have come from the same block that had been carved many times. Just on
like this is the one point as well. Like traditionally speaking, we always see the final outcome of the print. We used to not show in the block, but nowadays different. The contemporary printmaking simplicity, we rely to reveal whole process, even the material thing to allow the video to touch or perceive something like this. That one also remind me to think about the Frieda neck. Michael also mentioned that he used this printing plate, printing block, this contact to stimulate like the human being, the memory as well. Also, is in this way to decay, to forgotten, something like this as well. Yeah.
Yes, you're right. I think the element of being able to record things through printmaking, so that the block records everything you manipulate on it. So it's like a recording, and it's almost a bit like how we remember things and how we record our life. So and so it's a very important part to see the decaying process being part of our life too. That's haven't thought about that, but also the renewal of blocks is a very interesting thing that Ralph was mentioning. So it's a bit of like the ship of Theseus, a philosophical problem too. So if all the blocks over time are replaced, is it still the same, or is it something different? But then I also think what's important here is that we are talking about, especially in ukiyo-e, about the artists as if they would have done everything, and we tend to forget that the traditional Japanese woodblock print is a collaborative effort. So it's not just one person; it's a whole team of experts working on that, the carvers, the printers. And so we have the artist's name who made the original design, but we don't know about the craftswomen and men that actually produced that then.
And then over time, it gets that image that was produced at the time the artist was alive, gets reproduced again and again. And people have no way of being able to tell.
Well, it's not just the image. The image is reproduced. The original image is lost in the process. So when the sketch is put on the block, the sketch is lost, and then it only exists in its own reproduction, and the means of reproduction are being replaced over time. So it kind of exists through loss and decay, and gets a life on its own. So it's I think it really connects on one hand to the time-based medium, but then also Irena's idea of occupying space with the work and moving it into the three-dimensional presentation is something that when these blocks are done, they occupy space. And it's a pity that I think Yuasa-san is not here anymore. I haven't seen him yet. He was there before, but there's the opportunity to see that the storage space of the blocks of the old publishing companies. You would see what kind of space it takes to store all of these things and to keep them, the blocks, and to be able to reprint them. Yeah, I'm sorry, I'm getting myself into lecture mode. I have to stop this. It's not my role today. So the floor is up for you and to ask questions, and not for me to lecture here. I'm sorry.
Well, I think it's very interesting, Michael, what everybody's saying. Irena had to go, by the way.
Yes, so I hope she can come back later on, but as she's teaching today, we might not have her on all the time. So once she comes back, we might have another chance to ask her questions.
Yeah, I'm liking this idea about identifying what's real with a print, because everybody says, "Oh yeah, Hokusai print," but it wasn't his name because he kept changing his name. He didn't carve it. He didn't print it. And it's probably a reprint from the early 20th century anyway. It is really hard to pin down.
Yeah, and what I found quite fascinating about Hokusai's prints, especially the later prints, there are theories that a big part of the work with the later prints was not done by himself, but by his daughter.
Oh yeah,
and,
I've read about that.
Yeah. So, but I remember when I came to Japan to study here, nobody even was mentioning her, and now we realize that she might have had a big role in the later years. And what we see as these mature works of Hokusai might be actually the works of his daughter, and that's changing also the perception of the not only the artist's work, but the way we look at the authorship and what we attribute to different participants in that process.
But doesn't that make you suspect that there are other cases where the artist had a lot of support from their wives and families and studio assistants? I mean, because it really was a group effort.
Yes. Yes.
I mean, I read about Hokusai's daughter, and it makes you think maybe that wasn't the only case.
Irena disappeared a moment too early because as she has this feminist agenda in her work, I thought, this discussion would fit well with what she is doing and how she looks at the process to express her ideas and her concepts.
Well, I was imagining the wives and women in the back room grinding the pigment, preparing the paper. I bet they did a lot, but who knows? There's no record.
But that we know that there have been female carvers and female printers, and there might have been female artists designing the blocks, and it's also always a bit difficult because the publishers were using famous brand names. So
yeah, they would use the man's name
Harunobu
anyway.
was selling well, but we don't have a guarantee that all of the prints attributed to Harunobu were actually designed by him, because the publishers might just have put the Harunobu name on it in order to increase the chance to sell it. The business was not always completely honest with us.
You mean they did it just to make money?
I wouldn't say that this is not a possibility. Yes.
Okay, hello, I'm back.
Oh, good to have you back. We were just talking about the topic of not mentioned female contributions to the traditional Japanese woodblock print, and so we thought that would be something to speak with you about.
All right.
I was mentioning Hokusai's daughter, and that when I came to Japan, I never heard her name or that she even existed, and now we know that she has contributed a lot to the later work of Hokusai, and that she actually was a very important artist in her own right.
Well, we don't know about her. I mean, many people don't. Now I know. I didn't know. So. But that's a story that's repeated so many times over history, with many female artists. Yeah.
I think that judging by the names on the screen now, at least Japanese woodblock printing abroad has become a rather female domain. So.
I think it's because it doesn't make any money. It's a labor of love these days. I don't know, many more women than men. In my classes across the US anyway. Are there
that is true, yeah.
Your classes in Japan at Tokyo Gaidai, are they more women than men?
Well, at art universities in general, there are more women than men. I think it's a worldwide phenomenon that the number of male students is declining while the number of female students is rising. It's not always reflected in the same numbers in faculty, where there is still more male faculty members than female faculty members. But I think that's a general trend. It is visible in the printmaking studios too. But I don't think that this is specific to printmaking. I think that's in general something that is visible in the art world as a whole. On the other hand, I see that in design and in architecture, there are still more male students, and that might be in connection with what you mentioned, April. There is more money in these fields, so so it could be connected to that. But I'm guessing. I don't know.
But it's interesting that it's true worldwide. I see that in the US too.
Yes. How is it in Hong Kong?
Hong Kong, I think. Hong Kong, I think also is female more than male. I think UK as well. I have been studying UK, UAL, in printmaking, and Canberra also is the female more than male. Yeah.
Let's see. What else can I ask you about? Xiaoqiao? I was wondering, you're printing and then photographing the prints you made?
Yep. I basically the process I printing, I just draw the printed surface, I photograph it, record, and then again to print out, and then this draw, to record, and then many times, and then put it into the digital media, then to manipulate different software.
So the original is hand printed.
Yep.
And then you photograph so it becomes digital.
Yep.
And then you destroy the digital and photograph it again. So it
Yes, basically, yes.
It goes through many steps.
Yeah, it goes through the whole process. In the end, went to the digital. Then in the digital media that side, it's also allow me another room to put my way of thinking, the print sensibility again. Even though I manipulate the digital image, I still thinking the print sensibility, the point, because my whole idea it became to the imprint and then the matrix, the two core concept about the printmaking. In traditionally, the matrix is always the physical objects, but it's possible in nowadays the digital context, the digital matrix could be also it's the print matrix for me to manipulate and then to print out. This print out is mean not necessarily print out in the paper or physical thing, because let's think about the presentation about the prints. If nowadays we through the screen is one of the platform to carry about the image, is this still the print or something else? It's also the question of myself as well.
Well, do you exhibit the prints or the film or some kind of time-based thing?
You mean exhibit?
If you were going to have an exhibition, would it be the objects or?
Basically, my work is contains many elements. I have the physical print as well. I have the 3D print as well. I also have some digital print or video moving image as well. But the whole, I will put them together to show the whole process.
So it'd be a combination of things.
Combination, yes.
Mm-hmm. And did you study in Japan as well? But you're
no. I was studying in Macau, then went to Canberra College of Arts to study master, and now actually I'm doing my PhD in Hong Kong Baptist University.
Oh, you're in Hong Kong. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Macau to London.
UK, yeah, and then Hong Kong.
Xiaoqiao Li has. When will you graduate? When will your PhD finish?
2023. Now is the middle of my PhD. Is the 4-year program. Now I started the first year, and I nearly recently I'm preparing my confirmation of the candidature, and then after that I still have 1.5 year to finish my thesis, something like this. I'm doing the practice-based PhD, so all the research is generated by my practice. I mean, the embodiment of the print sensibility in the digital context is my main topic about the PhD. Yes.
Is it to the head of the printmaking department there? Used to be at the Slade, used to be at UCL in London.
The John Haken already retired. It's now is the Louis Nixon is from Kingston, and then now it became the director of the Academy of Visual Arts.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. Interesting.
Hi, Mel.
Hello.
It might be necessary to say hi to some of the new members, as there's some fluctuation of participants. We are right now discussing the presentation of Irena and Xiaoqiao Li. they were introducing their artworks and their concepts, printing on fabric and using the space for installation, and on the other hand, using the nature of print and turning it into a time-based medium by following how it decays and searching for the character of the work when it's transferred into a time-based medium. We are discussing these things, so if you have questions or if you want to check for the performance, in the chat window you will find the links to the YouTube presentations, and if you have seen it before, please feel free to ask questions. If I'm not reacting in time to the emoji showing the hand up there, you know, write something in the chat window or push me otherwise to make me recognize your intentions. Yes.
What? I'm sorry, I'm a little confused. What is the schedule? We're on break now?
No, we still have time to discuss. The schedule is we have time for question and answer until 11, and then from 11 on, Japanese Standard Time, there would be time to see another YouTube presentation about printing with water by Shen Xiaofeng, and after that we have another chance to talk and discuss. We would then allow everybody to take a lunch break, so then the energy level is not going to be too low. And in the afternoon, starting at 1 o'clock, we have the 3 videos introducing techniques about sharpening carving tools by Suichi Kitamura, followed with a short discussion break. And then I think we will be able to get the live stream from Nara when Tsutsumi Asuka is showing a hybrid mokuhanga printing technique. So that's as far as I foresee it in the moment.
It's hard to keep track.
Yes, if there are changes, I'm sure we will hear about it in time, and then I rely on Ralph to keep us informed and steer us into the right direction.
There might be, there will be live streaming starting in Nara this afternoon. So I'll share the YouTube link with that when it comes up. They've all gone off to visit. They've all gone off on, I think, to visit a temple in Nara, which has got some ancient block that they're going to.
Oh, that sounds so fun. I wish I was there. Yep.
I know.
Yeah, I have so much.
I know. It's a shame not to be there, but it's incredible, isn't it? That that the original. I mean, we're talking about decay and so on. It's incredible that they've still got original wood blocks, you know, from thousands of years ago. No, hundreds of years ago in.
Well,
Nara.
I hope they take some photos, maybe some videos.
Mm.
I would prefer next IMC we do a side events together. Satellite event again.
Mm-hmm.
Go back to Nara, you mean? Because we missed it.
Well, can be just a side event or post event, so we know we can travel around. It doesn't matter so much, right?
Well, it depends on Omicron, I'm afraid. Japan is closed now, right? They locked down more?
Yeah. Well, I think from time to time, and they just locked again.
Yeah, so we'll see.
Mm-hmm.
We'll see. I'm very anxious to get back to Japan now. It's been too long since we had Hawaii in between.
Well, it's I understand that the Japanese authorities are very concerned about keeping the good numbers in Japan, and so they reacted swiftly on the appearance of a new variant and made the restrictions on traveling stronger. It has, of course, destroyed the travel plans of a lot of people and caused some hardship. And I hope things become a little bit more predictable in the future.
The US is very casual about enforcing things. So it's I don't know. It's not great. It's the US enforces it in some areas and not in others. So in the end, it doesn't.
Yes, I heard an expert on virology speaking about that approach, and he said, well, that's a little bit like somebody being in a big pool, and on one side of the pool you're allowed to pee in, and the other side of the pool you're not allowed to pee in. So it's not very effective. So.
Yeah, so I got my booster and I'm wearing a mask. Going to the ocean a lot. Going for ocean walks is nice and safe things to do.
I think that's it's very difficult to come up with the perfect reaction to that situation and know how to do it in the right way. You always have to balance out a lot of interests, and right now it is in the interest of Japan to keep the numbers very low, and they're trying whatever they can to keep it that way. It's unfortunately restricting traveling a lot in the moment. So I hope this is improving.
Yeah, well, you're lucky to be in a country that has so little disease.
Yeah.
I was just going to make a point that sumi comes from is a let's say a material that comes from a process of burning and erosion. You know, you have the candle flame, you have the soot, or you have something that's burnt.
And dead animals.
Oh yeah.
Boiling up dead animals.
Mm.
And letting it rot. So, well, I had read somewhere that they would make the glue from sacred deer. Is that possible? Has anybody? Because when they make the nikawa, it's made from the hoofs and bones of animals. And it was made by the low-class people who could deal with dead animals. Nobody knows anything about making nikawa.
Faith, I know, Faith, you're Buddhist. Is that right? Do you try to avoid using animal products in when you do woodblock prints?
No.
Oh, because you can't. I mean, there's no vegetarian ink or something.
It depends. Like sometimes in Tibetan Buddhism, they're not vegetarian, although some are. So it's pretty individual. Yeah.
Interesting. They were saying, they were saying in the Sumi video yesterday that they add fragrant, fragrances
camphor
to overcome what's the word? Disguise the smell of animal in the Sumi.
Okay. I wish I knew more about their ink making process, but really, my background is the painting. Thangka painting, which actually I finished a painting today while we were listening to lectures. And then in terms of the carving, which I'm really interested in, I had to learn that through the Japanese method because I don't know anybody that the Tibetan printmaking was almost wiped out by the communist Chinese. And so I don't know any. I know a lot of Tibetan Thangka painters, both contemporary and traditional, but I don't know any carvers. So I'm using mokuhanga to express that iconography and also contemporary Buddhist iconography.
Okay, I want to add to it because I remember in one of the impacts in 2015 in Hangzhou, China, there was an exhibition of Tibetan printmaking, traditional printmaking, and there were printmakers from Tibet showing their traditional methods of printing, their Buddhist texts. And it was really amazing to see because it was something I was a long time interested in, and I looked at it through my research when I was doing my PhD. because it's looking in Buddhist practices that are related to ecology, because I was also researching on toxic printmaking practices, and so I looked into that too, and that's my bucket list. I want to go there and see these people working there. But that was a really great opportunity that I saw there, exhibiting the blocks and prints in traditional methods there during that impact conference in Hangzhou. That was great.
Oh,
There is one place at one monastery still in Dersh Parkang, and
yes, that one. That's yeah. I was looking into it.
I had
Yeah.
something.
Have you been there?
I've been to India and Nepal, but not Tibet.
Okay.
But I did just find on Etsy, I don't know if this will show well, a Tibetan
Wow.
woodblock.
Beautiful.
Nice.
And then also this one is little tiny Amoga City. And the seller had turned it into a coat rack. So he drilled into the Buddhas to make it into a coat rack. So I thought, oh, I have to save that. So I bought them. But yeah, it's very difficult to find traditional wood block carvers. That's why I'm trying to preserve it and also take it in fresh directions.
I
Well,
love your-
actually, in China, they now have like a master program. So people like traditional carvers can register there and name themselves as a master. However, they have to contribute a lot, like teaching and sharing from time to time. And when the government calls them to present it, to make the presentation to other countries, they have to step out. However, well, I rarely see people from Tibet. I think there's another like politics issues here. So no comments on that.
Yeah. I just recently met a man from Lhasa who knows a whole crew of Tibetan printmakers and woodblock carvers. That's only, I just met him about 2 weeks ago online, and he's showing me some of the blocks. So I'm really interested to learn more about that. So there are still some people doing it, but they're hard to find. It's so good to see you, Mel.
I think there's am I muted? Oh no. I think up in west Sichuan province, there's up in the mountains, there's a big printmaking center in one of the big temples, and I know I think it's called Dege or Durga.
That's it. You're pronouncing it correctly. I just know it as Dersh Parkang, and they even have an online. I have a book. You can order it. They'll print it for you. That was written in this country that shows a lot of the process, and they have videos from that. But that's the only one left. But now there are, just as Irene was saying, that you can learn it as a craft now, and they do consider themselves craftsmen, not artists, because typically they don't change traditional designs.
Right.
Now, I had thought there were some of those block libraries in Korea.
Korea also did a lot of Buddhist printmaking. One research book that I read said that it was actually the Koreans who brought the Buddha woodblocks to Japan. Some people say China, and others can document that it was actually Korea.
Yeah, a lot of things came from Korea. In fact, the Japanese kidnapped Koreans and brought them to Japan to make paper and maybe woodblock. But I remember reading about paper making. They would kidnap paper makers and bring them to Japan.
Yeah, I read that in the history too, that paper making came from Korea.
Yeah. Well, a lot of, well, I guess it came from China to Korea to Japan.
It did came from China. as well as
Mhm.
printmaking and paper invention. It took nearly 1,000 years to come to Japan. I mean, that's a fact.
Yeah, it moves around.
I heard, I was told,
Hi.
sorry,
We're all connected.
am I on? Oh yeah,
Yeah.
I was
Yeah.
told, that it's not as simplistic as that,
Yeah.
and that it's not necessarily, 100% proof that woodblock printing originated in China. I mean, it's an interesting subject because we've got people from Japan, Macau, Hong Kong, and so on.
We don't have Indians. And I have heard that it started in fabric printing in India. There's some very ancient blocks from India that were used to print fabric.
They still do it that way, April. They still do the wood blocks for fabric
Oh,
printing.
I've seen some of the demonstrations, yeah. But I mean, as far as where it originated, who knows? But there's some very early examples in India.
Sorry, Ralph, what was the name of that temple in the Sichuan province? How did you spell it? The name where you'd find a library of blocks and printmaking center in a temple?
Faith would know how to write it probably in a more local way, but I know I met somebody from that area. I've just posted it. He pronounced it Dege, but I believe that in Chinese it might be pronounced Dege. But anyway, I don't know, how do you write it, Faith?
Well, on the book that I have, it's Derge, but the pronunciation you said is correct. And then,
Thank you.
Oh, sorry.
yeah, Derge, and then Parkhand, Parkhand, which means temple, I think, or might mean one block printing.
Oh yeah, here it is. I found it on Wikipedia. I'll send you the link, Susan.
Thank you.
Oh, send it to all of us.
I am.
Yeah. Can you visit this temple?
It's a huge tourist attraction in China, so I imagine that you can, but I don't know anybody that has visited it. I've just seen mostly photographs. And it kind of opens and closes. Like for a while they had an online store and then it was shut back down. It's difficult to, I would love to go visit there.
Yeah.
Because they have the largest collection in the world of Tibetan and sutras and also the images, the Buddha images.
Okay, thank you.
About 10 years ago, I got on a bus to go in towards that area, but I was stopped and turned back.
Yes.
It's in a quite a volatile area. It's a part, anyway, it's quite volatile there.
Yeah. I think the original name of the area was Kham. K-A-M.
I wonder. There's quite a lot of Tibetans from Kham in India, and I wonder if they practice traditional, Tibetan woodblock printing in.
From what I can tell, because I've tried to find that for years, and from what I can tell, it's mostly prayer flags. Occasionally, you can find an image. They still make the sutras, but Claire's talk earlier talked about the monasteries in Kathmandu even that they don't print anymore. They still have the old blocks, but nobody's really practicing it outside of, well, Derge, and I think there are now some people in Lhasa that are learning it as a trade.
Yeah, she had some nice photos of one of the block libraries and her. Did everybody see that? Everybody's seeing different things, but she had interviewed a young artist who had learned woodblock printmaking in Japan and gone back to this temple and worked with the local monks and reprinted some of the old blocks that they still had, but they were not printing. They just kept them in storage. And he came with his Japanese baren and printed some of them for them. And they were amazed to have them back in use again. Great story. But you can see her video. I guess it'll be on YouTube later. Very interesting story.
Oh, thank you very much. Thank you, Xiaoqiao, and thank you, Irena Keckes. We are getting closer to the next element in our plan. So yeah, I think both have deserved a round of applause, be it as an emoji or real thing. So thank you very much. This was very enlightening and a chance to open up space and time for our practice too, maybe. So that the next point in our schedule is watching the YouTube presentation, the pre-recorded one by Chen Xiaofeng. Being here all the time, we have a chance to later speak about that, and we will have Mel's help to hand over the questions and discuss what we see. So we will be back meeting with the chat function in about 45 minutes. I will send out the message before, and I hope to see you soon after we've looked into ways of printing with water.
Michael, the demonstration, Mel cut it back to 20 minutes. So
oh, I see. Okay.
So yeah.
So maybe we should be back at 11:30 then.
Yeah.
So it's
okay.
one 20-minute video, and then discussion, and then lunch.
I thought the 30-minute video and then the discussion, then lunch, but I'll keep an eye on it, and I'll make sure that we can get together back here as soon as possible.
Thank you very much. Lovely to see everybody.
Or just
Yes,
have a quick note, because I'm afraid that there will be translation, but we need translation anyway. So after the question, maybe just you do English part, and then I will do Chinese part. That's why we need a longer time for the chat instead of like going smoothly as usual. So just bear this in mind. So that's why I shortened the video a little bit. And in case actually the video is in Chinese. However, I do the subtitle. So in case if it really runs so fast, always keep the screen, and then maybe you can come back and ask us again. Is it okay?
Yes, perfect. Thank you very much.
Yeah, that's great. All right. Thank you. Enjoy.